Hey guys, before I get into this video, I just wanted to give a quick disclaimer. One, headphone users, there was this loud bird that kept going off, I would say like every 10 minutes or so. I'm going to try to put some like little warning in there so you guys can like either pop your headphones out or just turn down the volume. I suggest just watching with the volume down a little bit lower than you normally would. So just wanted to put that little disclaimer in there. Also, apologies for the kind of choppy editing at some parts. I was basically interrupted by like multiple flying insects, both of my roommates, a dog, some dude blaring music, jogging past, just everything possible. So I had to kind of keep stopping and starting at certain points. So hopefully everything flows well at the end when I was editing, but just wanted to throw that in there just in case. So anyway, thanks for watching and let's get into the video. Hi YouTube, how's it going? My name's Isaac, and I guess welcome to my YouTube channel and my very first video, if I actually end up posting this. I record little videos like this where I just kind of reflect on certain things that have just happened in the moment. It's just kind of like a, I guess, a self-therapy kind of thing where I can kind of get my thoughts out in a way of journaling, but I'm not actually like having to write or type anything, because unfortunately I have mobility issues that make that difficult. I used to be someone who wrote all the time, and then it just became a lot harder for me to like use a pen, hold a pencil and all that, and then typing also became kind of an issue. My voice to texting just kind of sucks. Like I said, you know, I've been dealing with this for about several years, and it ties into what the topic of this video is about. But I will get into that. Actually, I guess now. I'll just go ahead and get into it now. So last night, I was feeling really down because, so for basically like the past, I guess, several years, my arms and legs have just kind of been deteriorating. That's really the best way to describe it. And not deteriorating as in like they're like actually falling apart, like I can see them falling apart, but deteriorating is in like, oh man, that'd be bad. But deteriorating is in like getting weaker and weaker over time, and it's one of those things where you don't realize it until you realize that it's hard to do things like picking up like a cup of water or using your phone for more than a couple minutes. Typing on a keyboard. A big thing for me was drawing, because I was working as an artist at the time. Well, okay, so I wasn't working as an artist full-time when I first started noticing the symptoms, but I did work as an artist full-time later, so I kind of messed up a little bit there, but yeah, so I was working as an artist, going to school, I was studying art, and then I was also working. I think at the time when I first started noticing stuff, I was working at a cafe where I was the barista and busboy, and I also was working as a gardener on the weekdays. So I was working as a barista on the weekends and was working as a gardener during the weekdays. Just like a lot of like really kind of physically demanding, like hands-on, really like kind of stuff. And so I was thinking, maybe that, it was just because I was working a lot, doing those jobs. And so eventually, I wound up having to leave the gardening job, and I was just working at the cafe and going to school. And then I wound up leaving the cafe to work at the library at my school, which is also really physically demanding, which it wasn't at the time. But then I wound up basically being the only one that could work my position, and then that job I was basically moving like rows, like shelves and shelves of books from one floor of the library to another, essentially by myself, because my coworker was like, I should put in quotes coworker, because the days that she was there I would catch her like just listening to music or browsing on her phone, playing on the computer or whatever. So it was basically just me. And I noticed, during that job, that because there was another portion of the job where I was like throwing out a lot of books that were just like outdated and stuff, and I had to like count the pages to make sure that like everything was in there, because we just had to make note about the condition that they were in. And I noticed that my arms were tiring out when I was just flipping like a few pages. And so I started, just taking time off from work. I started, and it went from like days to like a week. And it was one of those things. And it was affecting my school as well, because like I was, in a pottery class and some other classes too, and I ended up having to drop the pottery class because I couldn't do it. Because at this point, it wasn't even that my arms were getting tired. It was like pain was starting to set in. It was things were starting to hurt really badly. um, and I was starting to wear braces. Like I started out wearing like wrist brace, that were basically kind of restricted this movement, in the hopes that that would help. And then that evolved over time to like compression bandages. The same thing happened with my legs too. But my legs, the similar thing basically happened, except for I was in high school, and everything that I just talked about happened when I was in college, which is like 6 years ago, I think at this time, like 6, 7 years ago. And but my legs, it affected me when I was like in high school. That's when essentially the same thing started happening. I started, you know, not being able to be on my feet, and being able to just to stand as long. And then pain, started to settle in, pain and like that, and cramps, because my muscles, that was another big part of it too, is my muscles would cramp up. Just I guess from that, the inability, to be able to handle the strain that was just, in my opinion, just everyday use. And then the spasms started happening, where just 24 hours, just basically my body just was moving on its own, just feeling like muscles ripple and move that you never even like thought you could feel before, or thought you could feel before. Also, I'm sorry if you guys are hearing a bunch of buzzing or whatever in the background, because there are a bunch of giant bees, still just determined, I guess, to make themselves known. But yeah, like I said, so I started, wearing compression bandages, to try to help, with the pain and the spasms, because it basically was the only way that I could do anything. It was the only way that I could walk. It was the only way that I could work. I was basically like a mummy for basically like 2 years. It was the only way that I could get around. And eventually I wound up having to leave. Like, I luckily was able to finish college. I my symptoms hadn't progressed to the point where I couldn't draw, and so I just kind of like, made my way and just kind of adjusted and things like that. And then, like I said, I finished school, was working at the library. And then while I was working at the library, I was still doing my art on the side. Um, and because I was try to come up with some way that I could, have some self-sustaining income, or I could actually like take the time that I needed to rest. Because the problem was, while I was working at the library, I had a cap on how much I could earn each month, and it was like, I think like $800, $900, something like that, which isn't a lot. It's definitely not a lot. Um, and so I was trying to, move into something that I felt like could bring in more money, because, I had an Instagram page, and at the time I was working with glass, and my work was really taking off. People wanted my pieces. I had stores, that were interested in my work, and I figured, okay, I think I'm at a point now where I can do this full time, and I can get the rest that I need to. And yeah, those of you who have your own jobs, or or self-employed, or doing your own businesses or whatever, are probably smiling right now, because you know that that's the complete opposite of what happens. And I did it. I made the move. I left the library. I started, doing glasswork full time, and yeah, instead of working less, I actually wound up working way more hours, in fact. And I was doing a lot more physically demanding stuff, because when you're working with glass, it's a very finicky material, where even if you're a professional, you make mistakes all the time. If you get the temperature like wrong, you don't get the piece to the kiln fast enough, whatever, the piece cracks, and it does, and you just wasted like 20 hours or whatever amount of work that you just put into it. and you have no choice but to basically make that piece all over again, especially if like a client paid you for it. And so if your finances aren't, up to par, or you're not physically in a position where you can physically keep remaking these pieces, you start digging a hole for yourself really, really quickly. And I was unfortunately in both of those scenarios. So yeah, so on top of the stress from my finances dwindling, and also just my physical health just dwindling at the same time, I just I my condition basically was just like getting like worse and worse and worse, and all like the stress and everything really got to me and wound up like really screwing me up. And also at the time had a dairy allergy and hadn't apparently weeded out everything that I was allergic to, and so my stomach was just constantly in just agony. So I like wasn't really eating, it wasn't really sleeping, and then my body just basically felt like it was falling apart. And I know you're probably thinking that like all the stuff that I'm talking about contributed to it, and I honestly do think it did. Um, but after bouncing around from like multiple doctors now over the years, and working with an occupational therapist and also a physical therapist, um, and a neurologist, and after having lots of tests done, we've kind of come to the conclusion that it wasn't me. I feel like I should put in a picture of Shaggy at this point. Um, that I did overwork myself. I did push myself definitely too far. Um, Instances like both involving my legs with like, just probably with running because, I did cross country and was rollerblading and walking everywhere at the time. And also, with my arms because I was doing a lot of physical intensive stuff. And then, and so I think that like it caused like the initial injury, but I didn't, I wasn't like the core, or like I caused the initial injury, but my body's like response to it wasn't like a natural response, which was such a huge relief, because like, and it's something that I only recently kind of, I guess, came to the realization like basically like a month or so ago, because basically for like the past, I don't know, I guess like up until this point, which like I said was like a month or so ago, I had blamed myself, like I, beat myself up about it like basically like every single day for being like in this position, and I blamed myself every single time like my, I guess, like physical therapy wasn't progressing as like fast as I wanted to, and just all these other things that like, I mean, at the end, like even if I was the cause of it, I mean, I've learned since now that like I can't be blaming myself for that kind of thing. But I've been beating myself up about it for the past, yeah, for like the past like several years, thinking that I had caused this, and it was just such a relief to know that I wasn't like the source. But anyway, yeah, so like I said, all this stuff just kind of kept happening like over time. And as somebody who basically like, their dream was of being working as an artist someday, and you were kind of watching that take off, only to find not only that being taken away from me, but like parts of myself and just my humanity as well. Like, basically imagine like going from like, being a very physically fit, working out every day kind of person to like having to like switch hands while you're eating, a bowl of cereal because your hand tires out from just doing this motion a few times. Basically having to like plan the days that you take your shower on because taking a shower tires out your arms for like the entire day. Like, that's how bad that it got. Like, basically having to plan like every single movement, every single like thing that you want to do, whether it's just like wanting to check your phone, wanting to like type a message, forget typing. You're using Dragon nuance technology or whatever kind of voice to text technology you can get your hands on. Yeah, and so it's just all of that just like really hit me hard. I would say probably in the last year, because last year was like my last attempt at like trying to work again and have like a full-time job, and I was able to do it. Basically, I was able to fake it for about 2 years, and I partly did it because I wanted to see if I could actually do it, and also too because I needed the health insurance, um, because I didn't at the time, and I was just I'm very thankful that I have access to like a free clinic nearby, but I needed a little bit more, and so yeah, so I got the job and did that for, like I said, like a couple years, and then um, I finally, it was kind of the same situation with the library where I was just like taking more and more time off, and and then it finally got to the point where I was just like in so much just pain, um, where I couldn't do my job anymore. Like it was to the point where like so I worked at a front desk, and it was basically like to the point where I just was like hiding, or like wanted to just like go in the back and hide because I didn't want someone to come in, like because my neck would be like flaring up so badly because it affects my neck, it affects my jaw, um, my shoulders, my upper back, all the way down basically from this area, my chest, to my arms and my fingers. That's like the worst areas. Um, and essentially, what happens, at least nowadays, is that when my muscles get tired, they tighten, and they just get the more tired they get, the tighter they get, and then the pain starts to set in because they're like, I'm trying to move them, and they don't want to move, and they're trying to restrict me from moving, and so it starts to hurt more and more. And when it's really bad, everything from talking, chewing, smiling, moving my neck just even a little bit hurts, and I just can't even be around people. I can't even watch like certain TV shows or things that'll make me laugh or jump or anything because it hurts so bad. And I was working the entire time while I was feeling this. I was ironically fortunate to be working when COVID was happening, so I was working remotely for the most part, which is how I was able to get away with it. But then when I had to actually officially be back in the office, um, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. It was absolutely just torture. I was like, I'm literally basically getting up every single day to torture myself, and so it was just I finally like I said, I was calling out like day after day after day, um, and I was the only one who could do my job because the other people who were supposed to be helping me couldn't do it as well because they were having their own situations happening, and everything was falling on me, and I was just like, I can't do that. I can't do this. So left my job, and that was in January of this year. It's 2022. And so basically since then, my goal was just to not work, and just rest and try to take as much time as possible to focus on just getting better. And my hope was that I would improve over time. And unfortunately, that has not been the case. And it's something that is a reality that has kind of just like been sinking in, I guess, recently, and put me in a really dark place. Especially, I feel like especially the past like week. Like there was a moment where I was kind of riding on that high of like, yeah, it wasn't my fault. I didn't do anything. It might be something autoimmune related or just something we just haven't figured out yet. Blah blah blah. Um, but then once that high kind of wore off, I was like, well, shit. That means that no matter what I did, or no matter what I would do, or whatever, this was going to happen to me regardless. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, you feel better because it wasn't it wasn't in your control, but at the same time finding out that no matter what, like you were screwed, and you're just this is going to happen to me eventually. Really sucks, I mean, I can't even, there's not really any way that I can, kind of sugarcoat it, I guess. I think of it a lot as like 28 going on 80, which is funny because I feel like I've seen and known 80-year-olds who have a lot more mobility and are a lot more active than I am. But it's essentially how I feel. And when I talk to my physical therapist, my PT, it's really cool. We kind of talked about that because he struggles with arthritis and he's my age, and he has arthritis like in his legs, and he says that it's really tough, being so young and like not being able to just get up in the morning and go, to know that you have to do some kind of routine every morning, sometimes every night, sometimes throughout the day, having to take like a boatload of medications, and to basically kind of find out that like your life has cut short at like such an early age. Basically at the point where you think that like your life is just getting started, and people your age are like getting married and getting houses and starting their lives, and you're essentially literally like learning how to walk again and how to like open jars, and learning what your level of mobility is. Like I think one of the things that hit me the most was that I was just like, I feel like I lost so much of that independence that I gained as an adult, that I feel like I've regressed back to like basically being a teenager again, And while I know I definitely have more freedoms than I did when I was a teenager, a lot of the times it doesn't feel like that. But anyway, all that really sappy, depressing stuff being said, I'm making this video because I was thinking a lot of these thoughts last night. I was just really in a kind of a dark, angry, just kind of depressed place, which I'd kind of been bouncing around back and forth the past few days. And I decided today to finally take the time to watch this interview with Binging with Babish, Andrew Ray, that he did with Colin and Samir, who are a couple guys on YouTube who basically interview like content creators, and especially like viral ones, and just try to find out like their story, what it is that they did to become successful, just all kinds of stuff. But anyway, in the interview, he was talking about how he was in this place. Well, let me back up. So in the interview, they were asking him like, what exactly like inspired you to like create this channel and get to this certain like point in your life, and he talks about how like he was in this really dark place where he basically was coming to the right realization. I think he said that he was like working on some kind of like documentary project that completely failed. Like his documentary project failed, his relationship failed because I think he was engaged to someone, and something else just like completely fell through. And so he was just in this really dark place where he was just like, I felt like
creator. I had a major crisis of faith in myself that I would ever amount to anything in this industry. I was going to work an office job. I was going to, I was not, none of my, I had the realization that none of my dreams were going to come true, like that bottom of the barrel moment when you realize that maybe the life that you pictured for yourself is a fantasy.
And I was just like, holy shit. And it's like, that's literally like exactly like word for word what I'd been thinking, and and I know that it sounds like really, I guess like depressing, but it's true, it's the reality. It's like, it's something that I've had to accept, that there's a big part of my life that's probably never going to happen, something that I've dreamed of wanting and being for several years. I mean, everything from maybe like being an artist to even having a relationship, because I mean shit, like I can't even like, there are days when I can't even like talk to people because my jaw is just hurting so bad. I just have to like hermit up in my room, like I can't imagine like being with somebody and dealing with that, And so, like, just having all just kind of like that sink in, and just realizing that just like there's a big chunk of your life that you thought you didn't think you were asking a lot, and you thought at some point had a chance of happening, even if it wasn't like going to be a full-time thing, that some form of it could happen, and then realizing that you're lucky if you can even like get up and like brush your teeth and get dressed and everything that you want, and just do your daily activities for the rest of the day. Like, that's like basically the point that I'm at right now. and and it's just been hard. It's just been really, really hard. And so when he was like talking about that, I was like, holy, like, you basically like read my mind. Like, he's not talking about, being disabled, but he's basically was like at this exact point. And oddly enough, he was my age. Like, he said that he was 28, 29, where he was in this spot. And obviously, he broke out of it because, he's like, has this channel, and this is like his super successful like network and all this other stuff. And I'm not saying that I'm coming to this conclusion that, oh yeah, that'll be me someday, because I don't fucking know. I'm at the point now where I just like, I don't even want to have a dream, because I feel like every time I have a dream and I want to do something, I find out that I can't do it physically, or I have to find some other way to do it, and it's just really depressing and really frustrating to have that happen, just basically on like a daily basis. And so that was basically at the point that I was at last night, where I was just like, I don't even know what I want for my life anymore, because I feel like every time I want something, I find out that I can't have it because of something that's out of my control, And so, I don't know. I'm at the point now in the video where he's talking about, kind of coming out of that situation, and, obviously, because like I said, it's what's, I guess, like, spurred him to actually like make, the channel and make the video. And the first video that he did was for, it was the Parks and Rec burger that he recreated, and of course, as we all know, that it went like viral, and he wound up, making all these other videos as a success, and it took him down a path that he like completely, never saw coming. And I don't know. I mean, maybe that'll happen to me. Maybe I find something. I find my thing. Maybe I don't have a thing, and I just, I'm just find a way to just like be happy as is. Or maybe I'm get lucky and find out that there's like a cure or whatever. Because like I said, I mean, the jury's not out. I mean, there's still more testing and stuff that I have to go through. And there's a chance that something, could work, could help me, and finally like get out of this and at least make some kind of progress. But I guess I feel like I'm at the point now where I'm like, what else like is there really to test? And if it turns out to be any of these other things that we're thinking that it's gonna be, then it's not looking so hot. So I don't know. I guess I'm just I'm trying to stay positive, even though I feel like I'm always trying to stay positive. So I'm trying to let myself be negative, which I think is also healthy, but also be a little bit positive at the same time, because I also know that it's bad to stay negative too much, especially because it can be kind of comforting. So anyway, I haven't finished the video yet, but just that part alone, I don't know, I just really connected with it, and I felt like it was, I don't know, just kind of like the sign or like the message that I needed to hear, I guess, like in the moment, because I've been procrastinating, watching that video for, I don't know, like weeks. I think it was recommended to me like almost a month ago, and I don't know, it's one of those things where I felt like, I'll watch it when I need it, and at some point today I was like, I feel like watching it, and lo and behold, that was right. It's like right when I needed it. And I don't know, so I'm gonna keep watching it, and maybe I'll make another follow-up video after I've seen it. I guess that I kind of paused because I was just like, holy shit, I was just like, I need to document this. And even though I had all kinds of bees and people and animals and everything trying to interrupt me. We managed to get it out, so I'm proud of that. And I'm also proud of actually like getting this video done, because that's been another thing, is like I usually will either start recording and will either just kind of like fade off or just go on a tangent where to the point where it's just there's no point in even trying to edit it for YouTube. Then maybe this one will actually make it. So yeah, we'll see. If you're watching this, I did it. I actually posted it. So that's cool. But anyway, I guess that ends this video. I hopefully ended it on a lighter note. I was really trying to, because I know that was really heavy and I was packing in a lot of stuff there. But hopefully, if I do publish this one, it will save me having to recap my entire story in future videos, and that way I can just be like, you know, if you want to know my whole story, basically about what I'm going through, just go and watch this video. It'll save you, like, you know, trying to put everything together, because honestly, I can't even figure it out at this point. So actually, yeah, so, you know, while I'm on that topic, if you are watching this video and you have symptoms very similar to mine, please tell me, like, if you have a diagnosis, or even if you don't have a diagnosis, just tell me that, like, you're experiencing something similar to me, because so far I haven't met a single person. So yeah, if you have any experience with my symptoms, have a diagnosis, anything, please let me know, because that will give me some kind of guidance, especially because, like, I have my doctor's appointment in a couple weeks, depending on when this video is published. It's going to be April 28th, and then I'm hopefully going to get referred to a rheumatologist, because it's basically the next step. But yeah, so that being said, I think that basically concludes everything. I will probably do a follow-up video maybe after I watch the like the rest of the Binging with Babish clip. But like I said, I just it was one of those things where it's like a message that I really needed to hear, and I don't know, it just, I think, even though, like I said, I didn't finish, you know, hearing what he had to say, just the fact that, like, he was in the same place as me at, like, my exact age, and then and now, like, look at where he is, you know, like 6 years later. It was just kind of enough for me, I guess. It was enough to kind of motivate me to keep my head up. Because like I said, I mean, I don't really know what I'm doing right now. I'm just kind of trying to make it from day to day. And, you know, I guess make YouTube videos and other stuff. So yeah, you know, if you want to follow my journey, basically, I guess I'll be documenting what's going on, and also just anything that I'm thinking about. This is not just kind of like a documenting my disability channel. This is also me, just, I guess, like, voicing my thoughts on things. So I don't know, if you're into that, feel free to subscribe. Yeah, and I will see you in the next one. And I really appreciate you for watching, especially if you watch to the end, because this is probably gonna be like a 45-minute video. But yeah, anyway, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.